Morning. Get started in just a minute. Hi, Ellen. Thanks for coming. If you haven't gathered your props today, we're going to be focusing on balance. And so if you want to gather some props, you'll want maybe a block or some stacked books, something like a blanket or that you can fold up, or a couple pillows, something squishy, and either a rolled up yoga mat or a half round if you have one. And then if you need a chair or a wall to just for some stability, you can also position yourself near the wall or grab a chair. Another thing that you may want as we play around with balance is something that, whether it's like a straight line on your floor or on a carpet, or you could use a yoga mat, have some sort of narrow surface. It doesn't have to necessarily be raised off the ground. It could just be on the floor. And if you have any questions, either throughout the class or at the end of class, you can always type them into the chat box. If you don't see the chat box at the right, there's maybe a button at the top right of the computer screen that says like drop down or open chat. That'll open it up and you can type anything. We'll start in just a minute. All right, let's get started. So we'll start standing. Stand with your feet about as wide as your pelvis. And just take a moment to observe the sensations of your feet on the floor. Keep your eyes open at first. And just notice what parts of your feet have more contact with the floor than other parts. Notice if you have more weight on one foot than the other. Notice as you try to stand still, do you feel any little movements of your feet, whether you're swaying side to side, front to back? Maybe one foot is moving in certain ways, in little ways, compared to the other. So even when you're standing with 2 feet on the floor, the wider your stance is, the easier it is to balance. However, your body is still trying to stand upright and balance against gravity. So you're gonna so your body, all of your small muscles are engaging a little bit here and there to keep you from falling over, to keep you upright. So let's bring your feet together. So here we're narrowing your stance and observe the same thing. So with your feet together and eyes open, notice if you feel any change in movements with your feet closer together. You feel more movements in your ankles, your toes. Are you swaying differently? And the movements may not just be in your feet and ankles. They may be your legs, your abdominal muscles, your shoulders, neck. All the muscles of your body are actually working to keep you upright. You just may not be consciously thinking about, oh, I need to bend my arm, or I need to bend my knee, or I need to move my toe in a certain way. Now separate your feet a little bit wider again and close your eyes. So in order to balance, your body uses a couple different sensors. So you have some receptors on the bottoms of your feet called mechanoreceptors or proprioceptors that tell your brain what parts of your feet are pressing against the floor. It gives signals to your brain what shape the floor is and how to adjust. Another factor is your eyes. So if your eyes are open, your brain is always going to adjust your body so that your eyes are level with the horizon. So if you have your eyes open and you're looking at something, you have a point of reference, and that gives some more feedback to your brain about where your body is in space. So if you close your eyes, you take that piece of the balance puzzle out, and so you now are relying more on the mechanoreceptors on the bottoms of your feet. Another factor of balance is your inner ears. There's some the hairs in your ears and the fluid in your ears move depending on where your head is relative to the horizon. And so that also sends signals to your brain of how to move your body relative to the horizon. So here, with the eyes closed, you get to have a sense. You can also bring your feet together with your eyes closed and have a sense of not using your eyes. Notice if there's more sway or more movement. Now open your eyes up. You're just going to stand on one foot. Start with your eyes open and sitting on one foot. Notice if all of a sudden, again, you've just narrowed your base of support here. Notice if you feel more movement in that standing foot. You can see I'm twisted a little bit. And change feet. Again, if you need a wall or a chair for stability, that's perfectly fine. So switch feet again, and you're going to close your eyes and see what that does. Are you wobbling more? Is it hard to keep your other foot off the floor? So as you close your eyes and you feel that the movements become bigger, you can switch feet. The corrective movements are bigger. to keep you as upright as possible. Those same movements are happening with your eyes open. It's just that they're smaller and more refined in certain positions. So with both feet on the floor, feet wide. And so if you practice any of these exercises, all the exercises that we do are both an assessment to see where your balance status is. And they're also practice exercises to practice. So if you practice standing on one foot with your eyes closed, over time, those movements will start to be a little bit smaller and more refined. And so you'll be able to stand just as still with your eyes closed as you would be with your eyes open or with both of your feet down. So it's just something to take into account if you think about moving, if you're walking in the dark or walking somewhere where you can't see clearly where you're going. And walking is really a series of one-legged balances. And so how well can you walk without needing your eyes to stay upright? So now you're going to have a block, or if you have some stacked books, you can stand on books. And start standing on the right foot on the block. And you want to have your heel on the block. If your toes hang off, that's perfectly fine. And now instead of bending your knee, the one that's hovering, this time you're just going to keep both knees straight and bring your feet to be level with each other. And in this position, see if you can shift your weight back so that your leg becomes a little bit more vertical. So here, bring your butt back a little bit. So that there becomes a little bit more weight in your heel, a little bit less weight in the ball of your foot and your toes. By bringing your weight back, you're starting to engage the muscles of your outer hip, which keeps your pelvis level and will help with balance over time, among many other things. Switch feet. So stand with your heel on the block. If your toes hang off, that's fine. And then bring your other leg, your right leg, foot to be in line with your left, even though that's hovering. So just as if you're standing on a flat surface. And then play with bringing your weight back into your heel. So you can see as you shift your weight back, it may feel easier, it may make it harder. Just something to play with. Where your weight is shifted will determine what muscles are being used. And the thing with balancing on your feet is that really with any area of the body, you have bones that are more meant for weight bearing, are more dense and thicker, and then you have smaller bones that are meant more for changing shape and stability. So moving in little ways in order to change shape to keep you upright. So in terms of your feet, so you're going to switch feet, do the same thing. So shift your weight back. So in this case, you're going to find the same position. Feet become level, but that left foot is hovering off the floor. And so in the case of your feet, you're bearing weight in your femurs, your tibia, your shin bone, and your heel. Those bones are more dense. And so then the bones on the front of your foot from the ankle forward toward your toes are much smaller. And so if they're not bearing weight on the ball of your foot, those joints aren't locked. So they become more free to change shape as much as they need to in order to help you with balance. So the less weight they have overall, the better your balance will be over time. So here, you're gonna press your right foot, your right heel into the floor and try and lift in order to lift the left leg up. And then lower down so that your feet are up in line. And then press the right foot down again to bring the whole left leg up. Do that a couple of times. Trying to keep the weight in your right heel. And if you're falling all over the place, you're better off having the support of the wall or a chair to help you, to give you a little bit of stability. And you're going to switch legs. Left heel on the block or whatever prop you're using. Bring your right foot to be level, and try to bring the weight into your heel, your left heel. Notice if you're breathing while you're doing this or if you're holding your breath. See if you can continue breathing. And then press the left heel into the floor to lift the right leg up and then lower it back down. Lift and lower. Lift. Keep doing that a couple of times. Trying to keep the weight in the heel, relaxing your toes, relaxing the ball of your foot, and breathing. Just breathing normally. You don't have to follow any specific pattern, just your normal pattern. All right, shake your legs out. I'm going to switch legs again. I'm just going to find a point of balance here. So by standing on the block, if you don't have the block, it's perfectly fine. You can stand, or if you'd rather just stand on the floor, if you're finding it a little bit too challenging to balance up on the block, you can stand on the floor and see if you can keep your knee as straight as possible. It may need to bend a little bit, but have that foot hovering. Doesn't need to be all the way up here. The block is just giving a little bit of a lift so that you can more easily keep the other foot hovering off the floor. So now in this position, your eyes are still going to be open. Your feet, imagine as if your feet are in line with each other, and see what happens if you start to look around. Now, if it's already challenging enough to balance with your eyes gazing at a specific point or looking straight forward, then you can always just stay with that until it gets easier. But if you want to add a little bit more of a challenge, try looking around. Look up, down, around, anywhere. So here, you're changing your eye, you're moving your eyes around. So that's giving a little bit more challenge to your brain. And also you're moving the fluid in your ear. So you may, if you look left and right or up and down, the canals in your ears where the fluid runs, it moves in all different directions. And so every time you move your head in a slightly different direction, that fluid shifts and it sends another signal to your brain. So it requires a little more correction. So this is where it gets a little more challenging. Switch feet. And now look around. And one foot might be easier to look around with the balance on one foot than the other. That's not uncommon. Now, if you take this into a practical, everyday life example, if you're walking and you hear a car or a dog bark or someone call your name and you look over and you're still walking, can you maintain your balance? Can you stay upright, or do you fall or wobble just because you turned your head? Or are you able to stay stable? All right, shake your legs out. Just gonna do a quick stretch. You're gonna stretch the top of your foot. So put your right toes back behind you. Another thing that can impact your balance your balance on your feet is the mobility of your foot. So I'll show you a picture as you're stretching here. My skeleton. So your feet, you can see on him they're fused, but no, all of these are individual bones here, including as well as these and these. And so there's a lot of mobility that could happen between these joints. But if your feet get stiff, then they almost act as if they move as one. So those joints aren't articulating individually, they're moving. Switch feet. They're moving as one unit. And so your foot can't change to as many shapes as it potentially could if there's more movement between each of those joints. So stretching your feet can strongly impact your balance, along with just practice. So it's a little bit of brain exercise and also some stretching and strengthening. All right, switch feet, and so before we're pointing the toes back, you're gonna curl your toes so that your toes are pointing forward, your heel is coming forward. So you're getting a little bit of a stretch at the ball of your foot. You can bend the right knee and push your ankle forward. And switch feet. As you're doing this, if you feel a stretch in your foot, just stay there. If not, you can always shift your foot so that you have a little more weight toward your big toe or your little toe, and find a spot where you feel the most stretch. The more you bend your knee and the more you lean back into your toes, the more of a stretch you'll feel. Okay, come out of that. And now find something, if you have a blanket or something squishy, you're going to stand on that. So stand up with one foot, start with your right foot. And you're going to step up on it. And so before we were doing we're standing on one foot on a solid flat ground or on the solid block or book that you're using. This time, if you add something a little bit squishier, there's a little bit more movement under your foot. And so when your foot starts to move, so does the ground in this case. Whereas before, when you're on that flat level ground, the movement of your foot is met with the pressure of the ground pushing up into your foot. And so your foot stops because of that, because of the hard ground. Whereas here, you're going to have a little bit more wobbliness. This is just another surface that you can challenge your balance on. So here you can see about closing your eyes if you want to play with that. And also open your eyes and look around. And the more relaxed you are, the more your body will start to adapt. So if you hold everything really tight, and you can even play with this, if you hold everything tight, sometimes it's more difficult to balance because when your foot moves a little bit, the rest of your body goes as well. Whereas if everything's loose and relaxed, it can just move in all different ways to balance. May also fall over. Switch feet. Try closing your eyes. You can keep your eyes open, looking at one stable point ahead of you if that's enough balance. You can always scale it up or scale it down. Look around. All right, come off of that. Then give your feet a break. So balancing just on your feet isn't the only part of your body that has the ability to balance. So your hands, if you're doing a handstand or anything where it's just your hands are the point of contact on the ground, that's a balance practice. We're gonna come onto all fours and play with balance from this position. If you need something under your knees, you can put a blanket or some sort of cushion. You're gonna have your knees about as wide as your pelvis and your hands about as wide as your shoulders. If it's too much on your wrists, you can also lean back a little bit so that you don't have as much weight on your hands. Okay, so here we have 4 points of contact. You have the lower leg and foot, 2 of them, and 2 hands. So here you're going to drop your belly down and lift the space between your shoulder blades. So you can see here on this side, I have a curve here, a curve here, and then my chin is tucking in so that I have a little bit of a curve in my neck. So find that position and just relax your abdominal muscles, relax your belly. Now here, you're just going to lift your right arm up. So you're going down to 3 points of contact. And then you're going to lift your left knee up. So now you have 2 points of contact here. And see what that feels like. See where you feel engaging, what muscles you feel engaging, what areas of your body are working in order to maintain this balanced position. Make sure that you're breathing. I'm going to come down, you're going to switch. So you're going to lift your left arm up. And you want to start with your belly relaxed. So bring the other hand down, actually. Relax your belly. Relax your abdominal muscles. And without thinking about engaging your abdominal muscles, sucking your belly in or anything, keep it relaxed. Lift your left arm up. You'll notice that your abdominal muscles reflexively engage, but they just engage to the degree that they need to in order to sustain this position. They're going to lift the right leg up, and you may feel different abdominal muscles engage, or you may feel them engage a little bit more. And as you do this, try not to round your back. Keep your belly dropping down toward the floor. And just feel for any wobbliness or movement. Still continuing to breathe. And then come back down. So if that was challenging enough for you, you can stick to that. The next thing you're going to play with is now lifting the same arm as your leg. So you're going to lift your right arm up and see if you can lift your right leg. So you can start with just the knee. And if you feel like that's coming well, then see if you can lift also the foot. So this just challenges your balance in a slightly different position. And if you notice that you're holding your breath, try to come back to your breath. And if you fall over, just have fun with it. It may happen. You're going to switch sides. So start with your hand, lift your left hand up. Lift your left knee up. Feel like that's coming well, lift your foot up. Continuing to breathe. And then come back down. We're going to do one more position of balance. So you're going to come off of your hands and your knees. You're going to come to sitting. So in this position, so before we were balancing hands and knees, or lower legs, now we're going to balance on our butt. So you're going to have your feet on the floor, and you're going to lean back so that you don't want your back rounding. You want to still have a neutral spine if possible, and bring awareness to your sitting bones on the mat. And if you rock back just a little bit off the sitting bones, there's a fleshy part just behind the sitting bones before your tailbone. And you're going to find that spot. Keep your hands on your shins to start and see if you can lift one foot off and then the other foot. And here you still want to be breathing. And then see if you can let go of your hands. And still balance here. If you want, if this is coming easily, you can, and you're able to do this. I probably won't be able to do this at the moment, but you can rock back onto your back like you're rocking like a ball or rolling like a ball. You're going to go back and then see if you can come back up. And you can do it like this with your hands, or you can rock all the way onto your back. And as you come up, can you come up and still keep your feet up, or do your heels need to come down to the floor? As you do it, can you breathe? Can you still continue breathing? And then rest your legs down. You can have your hands behind you and just let your knees drop out to the side for a second. Take a couple breaths here. And then separate your feet a little bit wider. You're just going to wrap your knees side to side. So give your legs a little bit of a break here. All right, so that's our balance practice for today. So balance can be thought of as on your feet, but balance also happens on your hands and knees, on different parts of your body. So it's just a matter of what your intention is and what you need to balance on. And just your feet. Feet are important because we're always walking, and as time goes on, if we're only walking on flat surfaces, then our body gets deconditioned. Our brain doesn't get used to being on squishy or rocky or uneven terrain, and so your brain just gets deconditioned from doing that, and so it becomes more challenging. And so the more you practice it, the more you challenge your balance within reason and within your comfort level, the more your body can adapt to different positions. If anyone has any questions, feel free to write a note in the chat box and I'll do my best to answer them. If not, thanks for joining me and have a great day. Oh, that's awesome. So it could be that part of you work different muscles in your hip that maybe were tight, or other muscles were being overused. And so as you started to put your joints in a different position or stretched or moved in a different way, it gave a break to wherever you were having hip pain. Yeah. You also probably brought some more circulation to that area, and that could have helped as well. Yeah, it's pretty interesting that sometimes it just takes like moving in a slightly different way from the way you've been moving, or in the different ways that you've been moving, and that just is enough to sort of balance out, or give a break to the loads that you've been putting on your hip, for example. Because we tend to get into habits. It's just everyone does habits of moving in the same way over and over again. So we sit in the same way, same position, the chair is the same, the height of the chair relative to your couch, relative to your bed is the same. And so so there's not as much variation of movement. And so that that gets you kind of in a cycle of overuse in certain areas and underuse in other areas. And what's helpful is actually catching that when it first starts. So pain is not necessarily a bad thing per se. It's just an indicator that there's some sort of imbalance or that you're overusing a certain area. So if you don't ignore that pain signal and actually think about it and figure out maybe how you're moving when you're in pain, and then also thinking about ways that you can move a little bit, change the way that you're moving or stretch differently, that will get you out of pain. And so that just kind of creates that balance and also allows the area that's getting overused to have a break. So pain's a good signal. When it continues on past the point of being past an injury, then it goes into other more challenging nervous system patterns. But if pain just shows up and you change your loads, then it can often be remedied pretty quickly. All right, I'm going to sign off. If you have any other questions, you can always feel free to email me at drmiller, DRMILLER, at Nuravita, NURAVITA.com. And I'd be happy to do my best to answer any questions. Enjoy the rest of your day.